In the upcoming weeks, the FIA wants to discuss with the groups whether or not action is needed to address the brake dust issue. Inhaling brake dust and smacking their faces while driving has both been reported as health risks by drivers. So hello and welcome back to our channel. In this episode today, we'll be covering the brake dust problem that the F1 drivers have been facing. Before starting with the episode, let's find out what brake dust is. The surface of your wheels may be damaged by brake dust, which is made up of carbon fibers that come off the brake pad and tiny metal shavings from the rotor. The majority of rims are composed of a metallic alloy, which brake dust can readily damage. Your car slows down when you press down on the brake pedal, because a set of calipers squeezes the brake pads up against the brake disc surface, creating friction. This inevitably causes the brake pads and disc to erode, giving the tire, wheel wells, rims, hubcaps, and paneling the blackened appearance. The heat generated by the rotating wheel can actually strengthen the binding wheel, the dust, and the rim, making the cleanup more challenging. Brake dust eventually causes etching, pitting, and discoloration on rims, especially aluminum wheels, if it is not removed. After the Austrian Grand Prix, when Sebastian Vettel emerged from his car with the face entirely covered in black carbon, drivers' worries about the health effects of breathing in carbon dust during race weekends came to the forefront. This season, according to Vettel, long-standing problems have gotten worse because of the new brake duct configuration, which exposes drivers to both brake dust produced by other cars and dust produced by their own vehicles. This year, brake duct designs and the front axle, he claimed, were to blame for blowing all the brake dust directly in our faces. The design of the brake duct was altered in the rules for 2022 in order to restrict teams' ability to produce aerodynamic outwash by forcing air through the wheels. Therefore, it was meant to keep airflow centered when a rear-facing duct outlet became law. But now it appears that this causes a problem with carbon brake dust. Under the previous regulations, teams were pumping heat and brake dust right out of the wheel face in addition to dumping airflow. Freedom gave rise to a wide range of options, many of which were strongly focused on the advantages that teams might obtain from an aerodynamic aspect. This led to complicated brake duct designs, as well as other alternatives, including blown axles and custom wheel rim designs. To reduce the chance that teams may produce aerodynamic outwash by blowing air out through the wheels, the rules regarding the design of the brake duct were amended for 2022. As a result, it was intended to keep airflow centralized by requiring a rear-facing duct outlet. However, it now seems that this has had an impact on the carbon brake dust problem. The wheel face was being used by teams as a direct exit for not only airflow but also heat and brake dust under the previous restrictions. The Freedom produced a wide range of answers that were strongly biased in favor of the benefits that teams could produce from an aerodynamic perspective. This led to complicated brake duct designs, as well as other solutions like the blown axle and custom wheel rim designs. What the Red Bull RB18 brakes seem to be elevating is this. The new regulations for 2022 aim to further reduce the wash area. The outer drum forms a seal, allowing air to only enter and exit through the front and rear vents. This also includes single rims and rim coverings. Teams still have considerable creative freedom in how they will manage the heat and airflow inside the brake drum. The majority of the teams have chosen a fairing that covers the brake disc, like the Red Bull RB18. We can observe how intricate the brake duct design was when the rules were different by going back just 1 year. The numerous methods employed by Red Bull on its RB16B demonstrate how channels were used to better control airflow as it was discharged from the wheel face and to bypass the brakes in order to reduce the heat transfer from the brakes to the wheel rim and ultimately the tires. The purpose of the revised F1's regulations for 2022, which is to lessen the contribution of the brake duct assembly to outwash generation, has been preserved. This consists primarily of a conventional supplied wheel rim and wheel rim cover, with the outside drum acting as a sealant so that airflow can only enter or depart through the front and rear scoops. Teams are still given some leeway in how they manage the heat and airflow inside the drum, with many choosing to install a fairing that covers the brake disc, as can be seen on the Red Bull RB18 in the video. In order to allow originality among the competing design teams, the law determined the size, position, and shape of the inlet and outlet scoops. Although the teams may have been given too much latitude at this early stage of the regulation cycle, the FIA may look at the rear scoop as one design element to change the movement of the brake dust. It's also important to keep in mind that the required brake disc diameter for 2022 has increased dramatically from the previous maximum of 278mm to between 325mm and 330mm, meaning that theoretically more dust will need to be thrown away. Additionally, the brake disc's cooling holes must now have a minimum diameter of 3mm, which has a significant impact on both the quantity and type of holes that can be used. The rules have been updated to make clear that brake pads cannot include cooling holes. The sum of these effects suggests that there may be instances in which the brake dust generated is enhanced as a result of these underlying modifications to the design freedoms of the team. The teams will thus discuss the specifics of the brake disc and duct designs in order to try to find a good solution without compromising the mechanisms that keep air from being blown away from the car. In the long run, it's not out of the question that the FIA may even consider something more extreme as a material change for the discs. The question arises, does the FIA change the rear exits? The teams will thus discuss the specifics of the brake disc and duct designs in order to try to find a good solution without compromising the mechanisms that keep air from being blown away from the car. In the long run, it's not out of the question that the FIA may even consider something more extreme, such as a material change for the discs. The brake size has increased this year. Additionally, the brake disc cooling holes shall now have a minimum diameter of 3mm, which has a significant impact on the number and type of holes employed. The guidelines have been updated to explicitly state that cooling holes cannot be used in brake pads. Due to these simple changes in the workforce's artistic freedom, it is possible that the brake dust will increase in the total of those components. In order to find a good solution without destroying the reason why the air is not blown out of the car, the key components of the development of the brake discs and ducts will be focused on once the groups have met. It's possible that the FIA will eventually consider something far more extreme, like changing the fabric of the discs. As we are about to conclude our episode, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and also remember that more and more people are interested in the ingredients used in the items they use. Think about the brake pads, for instance. Brake pads are one of those parts of the car that we frequently overlook, despite the fact that they're crucial to both the health of the vehicle and the safety of the drivers and passengers. We're accustomed to only considering the risk posed by our car's brakes when they're malfunctioning. The brake dust that is generated during braking as a result of friction between the cast iron disc and the brake pads is making us more and more aware that brakes can also be dangerous. This brake dust can result in severe respiratory issues and, in rare situations, may even trigger dangerous diseases that call for immediate medical attention. Thank you for sparing your precious time. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.